Pouring in, turnout will be high. What to expect when it's time for the counting this year. And the economy, inflation, sky high, unemployment, amazingly low. Where are we? Today is Sunday, October 23rd, 2022, and this is Flashpoint. Hi there, welcome to Flashpoint. We draw ever closer to midterm election day, now just a little more than 2 weeks away. If you haven't quite made up your mind yet, the final debate in the governor's race is coming up this Tuesday, but that will come too late for the many, and I do mean many, who have already voted by absentee ballot. More than 1.5 million ballots have been requested and sent out, and now around 500,000 of them have already been returned. That's about twice as many as the last midterm election in 2018. Those absentee ballots are presumed to lead heavily Democratic, which could lead to another episode of what we now refer to as the red mirage. 2 years ago, the early vote totals tilted Republican, but late in the evening, things changed as those absentee ballots were added into the mix. And that shift of fortunes helped feed the conspiracy theories that something untoward was happening when it was actually just a function of which votes were being counted early and which were being counted late. Now, Detroit says it's going to do things in reverse and count up the absentee ballots early instead of late. Coming up this morning, we're going to talk with a couple of election officials to help us set the expectations for election night. And we talked last week about the rise of economic concerns to the top of voters' issues. The likelihood of a recession is the hot debate among economists right now. We'll talk with one of our favorite economists, Justin Wolfers from U of M. What does he see and what are the political ramifications? All today on Flashpoint. All right, I want to start this morning by releasing the results of a new Local 4 poll done by the Glenn Gariff Group in a very closely watched congressional race in Michigan, and that's in Michigan's 7th District. Several weeks ago, of course, we hosted the debate between Alyssa Slotkin and Tom Barrett, and here's where that race stands. At the moment, Slotkin with a 6-point lead, but of course, all pollsters have been noting a GOP surge of late. And does Tom Barrett have a little more play on his side? Let's bring in our pollster, Richard Zuba. Richard, it is a lead for Slotkin in this very competitive district, but your upshot here is that Barrett has some room to grow.
He sure does. And there's a reason this is the most important or most highest price race in the country. You know, we've got a 6-point lead, but Barrett can pick up 3 points simply by bringing home the leftover Republicans who haven't quite committed to him yet. That makes this race a 2 or 3 point race. And, you know, I've described this district as if most districts are a 100-piece puzzle, this district is a 1,000-piece puzzle. There's a lot of moving pieces here.
Well, and it's redistricted, so we're just sort of basing our expectations on some unknowns.
Well, we are, and any little shift in the final 2 weeks really dramatically changes this district. And I think one of the most fascinating elements of our numbers is that there is a libertarian candidate in this race that is getting 3% of the vote. And if that continues, that becomes a big roadblock to Tom Barrett overtaking Alyssa Slotkin.
When we always talk about independents deciding the elections, what you're starting to say here then is what I guess we would call soft Republicans. And we've watched a split in the Republican Party that's developed. Some of them are going to hold the key to what happens in not just this race, I assume, but others in our state as well.
Well, they are. And these soft Republicans that we're seeing, you know, Republicans across the state struggling with are primarily what we call moderate Republican women, and they're being driven on the abortion issue. Abortion's having an enormous influence in this race right now.
Yeah. Richard, the other thing that you and I have talked a lot about is voter engagement. You keep talking about how it just keeps pegging the meter. As you are now watching the return of these absentee ballots at this extraordinary rate, what's your take on what we're watching?
Well, first of all, I think we're looking at historic turnout for a midterm in 2022. We have a motivation to vote in this district of 9.6 on a 10-point scale. That's in Yowza land. That is huge. But in terms of the absentees, these absentee voters are largely Democratic voters. I found it very interesting that the base Democratic voters who are going to vote absentee, 47% of them have already turned in their ballot. That's an extraordinary return rate. This is going to be a down-to-the-wire race. This is going to be decided on election night. And if there is a national shift of any sort in the final weekend, it's going to play out in this district.
Well, and I wanted to save this for last. We have felt that, because I've got a conversation coming up a little bit later on this morning about what's going on with the American economy as that issue keeps rising, as inflation just refuses, so stubborn in abating at all. We have felt a turn toward the GOP has felt stronger nationwide, hasn't it, over these last 2 weeks?
Well, that appears to be the case, that they are gaining based on the inflation conversation and the economy conversation. In this district, I think there's a very interesting dynamic to watch, and that is Alyssa Slotkin is running a very interesting kind of side issue to the inflation issue, talking about manufacturing jobs and beating China. And it's giving her something to talk about that other Democrats in the country don't have as a counter to inflation. Yeah.
Fascinating. Richard, keep your phone close here as over these next couple of weeks. I'll be talking to you every couple of hours, I think. Thanks for the time.
Sure.
All right, I want to turn to what our expectations should be now for election night. We're watching this huge return of absentee ballots, moving past 500,000 so far. Clerks are being allowed to start processing those absentees early, but some Michigan clerks are choosing not to do that. Let's talk about what is coming with Anthony Forlini, the Macomb County clerk, and Barb Byram, the clerk from Ingham County. So glad to have you both here. I know you're getting ready for, you're practically in training here for what's going to be a crazy couple of week stretch here. But Anthony, let me start with you and as you're watching the number of absentee ballots coming in, are you planning on processing them early?
Well, as you probably know, the clerks at the county level do not process the absentee ballots. Our local clerks do that.
Exactly.
However, we're not, you know, in 2018, we had 58% of the ballots were, or the electorate voted. That was a big year for us. I think absentee ballots are going to come into play this time. It's going to be even more important because the absentee ballot, or the ballots themselves, are so long. There's so many proposals, so much to read. I've got to tell you, I really encourage people to get out and take a look at these ballots ahead of time before they get to the polls. Definitely. Because when they do get to the polls, I think there's going to be longer lines because of the length of the ballot.
I agreed. Barb, what are you hearing from clerks in Ingham County? Are they going to be processing early?
Thank you so much for having me. So in Ingham County, only 3 of my local clerks will be processing early. And I think it's imperative that we talk about what processing early looks like in the great state of Michigan, because it does not look like processing, like early processing looks in other states. In Michigan, the legislature is allowing those local clerks that got permission ahead of time, are above a certain population, to start opening envelopes, removing the contents of the envelopes, and then comparing those ballot numbers on the ballot stub to the ballot number issued to that voter. And that's it. So that is the Michigan version of processing early.
Basically just kind of getting started on what is then a longer process. But I want to let you both weigh in then on how you expect the night to look. We already know from this past week, the city of Detroit is making an effort to do absentees first to get rid of, which I guess will throw a wrench into what some referred to the last time as the red mirage, because we had in-person ballots opening, being counted first, Anthony, and then the absentees came in and people sensed that there was a shift that felt, I guess to some, like something funny was going on when it was just the votes, the way they were being counted. But Anthony talked about those, what you expect it to look like.
Well, I think this year is even going to be looking different yet, because the state of Michigan, at least in Macomb County, anybody that upgraded their software for the tabulators are no longer able to modem the results in. So now we are getting our results in together. When the clerks bring their results to us, we have the absentee ballots as well as the tabulators in person. Those will all be counted at the same time and brought in at the same time. So we're not expecting that there's going to be any difference between the two, because they're being brought in together.
Barb, how about you?
So in Ingham County, we have never used modems. So that's not going to change for the press and the public that are hitting refresh constantly on my website. What we are seeing is that for the state, 1.6 million individual voters have already requested their ballot.
Right.
By the time election day comes, we expect about 2 million voters that will vote by absentee ballot. Historically, we know even as far back as August election, between 65 and 70% of the vote total is done by absentee ballot. So we're still going to see a lot of AV, absent voter ballots coming in, and those clerks under Michigan law may not start tabulating those ballots until polls open on election day. They can do the pre-processing Michigan style, but they cannot start tabulating until polls open on election day.
Let me let you both weigh in on the shift that we have watched. In years past, early voters and absentee voters were by and large overwhelmingly Republican. And that has changed dramatically. And it seems to be changing kind of, I mean, all these votes should count. And yet the way that we vote seems to be kind of becoming politicized in a weird way. Anthony?
But I think that was an anomaly in the last election. I would hope that's not the case this time around. I believe there will be a balance, a better balance than there might have been 2 years ago.
Really? Okay.
But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Barb, how about you?
I am encouraging every qualified registered voter to exercise their right to vote, either in person or AV, whichever is most convenient for them. Make sure you get those ballots. If you are voting by absentee ballot, get that ballot to your local clerk no later than by the time polls close on election day.
And lastly, give me your expectations for how Election Day will feel and be for you guys on the work side of all of this, because it certainly looks like, at least if the absentee is any way for us to gauge what's going to happen, it's more than twice what we saw requested the last time we had a midterm election back in 2018. Anthony, your expectations for what's ahead?
I expect a completely clean, crisp, timely election. How's that? And
I love it.
and I really believe that we've got some very good qualified clerks in Macomb County, as I'm sure is in Ingham County and throughout the state. So I really believe that what we're going to see this time is a very excited electorate getting out, voting, however they vote.
It does seem to be supercharged at the moment, Barb, but a lot more than we typically see in a midterm election.
That is very true. And I expect it to be a long, stressful night. But I know that Michigan's 1,500 clerks, certified election professionals, stand ready to make a safe, fair, and accessible election.
But we kind of have developed this idea that we should know winners on late on election night. And that might be tested this year, correct? I'll let you both talk about
Well, we've always only posted unofficial results, and those unofficial results still have to be canvassed and ultimately certified by the Board of Canvassers in every county, which is made up of 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. So hold tight. We have to make sure that every legal vote cast is counted.
Anthony?
And I'm 100%. I think it's the media that really, really wants those results super early. And I get it, and I get it. And we try to do everything we can to get those results in quickly. But like Barb says, we want them accurate, we want them right, and we want to be able to stand behind our results. And I think that's what you're going to see this time around.
It's a fair point about the media, and that's what I'm trying to do here is help with a little bit of expectation management. No, you're exactly right. We're champing at the bit on election night, no doubt about it. Anthony, Barb, thanks so much for the time. Good luck as we move toward Election Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. We'll take a quick break. What is going on with the American economy? That's next. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
When the things you love blur the line between function and art, the last thing you expect is a sale. Limited time store-wide savings exclusively at Gorman Southfield, the state of contemporary art.
Do you feel it? There's something in the air in Miami. Something exciting. And in Pittsburgh, a new era is just beginning. Steelers, Dolphins, Sunday night.
Sunday Night Football on Local 4 is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more.
Heard about Samasco Law through a couple friends I work with, and also I seen the advertisement on Facebook.
Ron needed an estate plan and a trust. At Samasco Law, we deal with these issues every day. Pat went to work for Ron.
When we arrived there, everything was on time. I think they're very friendly and thorough and knowledgeable. It's really enjoyable to work with Patrick. He's real friendly and outgoing. That really made us feel good about the decision we made to come to Samasco Law.
The more you buy, the more you save at Gorman's. This weekend for 4 days only, save an extra 6 to 14% off already reduced sale prices. Savings on top of savings on the best brands. Buy more, save more at Gorman's.
When news happens in your neighborhood,
people struggling to make ends meet are flocking to this tiny town downriver for a lifeline.
Providing just hope for the hopeless.
Local 4 is here to tell your stories.
Pull our resources together and help everyone.
Stories of how our communities are coming together.
Every time I see somebody that need help, I tell them come here.
To make a difference.
It's been a great help to me and my family.
Okay, have a good day.
When news happens, expect more from Local 4 News.
We are now a little more than 2 weeks away from Election Day, and as we've discussed on the program, for many, the economy and inflation have supplanted abortion as their #1 issue as they start to fill out their ballots. Many, of course, have already filled out those ballots, and the old saying is, it's the economy, stupid. Well, what is the economy right now? A growing number of economists believe we're headed for a recession, if we're not in one already. At times like this, I like to turn to Justin Wolfers, the economist at the University of Michigan, who's back with me again on Flashpoint. Justin, when we talked a couple of months ago, we talked about how complicated this is because I guess by some definitions we're in a recession, 2 straight quarters of negative growth, but you felt it was much more complicated than that at the time, and I'm curious as to where your thinking is now.
Well, at one level more complicated, another level much simpler, which is, as of right now, the US economy is not in recession. Last time we talked, the US economy wasn't in recession, and the US economy hasn't been in recession all through 2022. It's that simple, and it's that simple because there's an array of data, particularly employment data, showing that the economy is continuing to grow. In fact, the number of jobs we added over the past 3 months, the rate of job growth was higher than at any point during the pre-pandemic 2000s. So what's happened is the economy's like a big rubber band. It stretched out and then bounced back. And it bounced back and we started to get a little bit used to these outrageously strong growth numbers. But what we've seen is a little bit slower. So there are some indicators looking a little worse. GDP's one of them.
Yep.
There are a bunch looking a lot better. But overall, the economy has been growing, is growing, and therefore we're not in recession.
The fact that we do have the lowest unemployment right now that we've had in 50 years, and people do seem relatively flush, even though they are, at least the numbers tell us that, even though they're looking at prices that keep getting higher and higher, gasoline, of course, among them, and the cost of food. All of that adds up, though, to a chase into recession, isn't it? I mean, it still means that things are running and burning really hot.
So the difficulty is the economy is doing well, and at some point we've got too many people with too much money chasing not enough goods.
Right.
And the result of that is inflation. Now, that's not the only cause of inflation. You might have noticed we're still coming out of a pandemic. Global supply chains were snarled, and in all sorts of ways, our lives are not the same as they were in 2019, and neither is the economy, and it's taking some time to sort all that out. So we do live in confusing times. It is true that inflation is high, and that's making life difficult for many people. But there's also a really important distinction when you ask people about the economy. If you ask them about the state of the economy, they sound pretty down about things. Now, they're not down about unemployment or jobs. They're down because of inflation. But if you ask them about their own financial situation, it turns out people tell a much more optimistic story. And if instead of asking people, you watch what they do, people are quitting jobs and starting new careers, which is the sort of thing you only do when you have a bit of confidence. People are spending a lot of money, which is the sort of thing you only do when you think the economy's doing okay. So there's a lot of ways you can look at this and see the glass is still half full. That's not a promise it'll continue to be that way. It's just a statement right now. The economy for a lot of people is okay for them, even if they're worried about what it's like for other people.
Well, and that makes it really interesting then as they start to vote. Are they voting on their own personal economy, or are they voting on everything that they're being told and everything they're hearing? In fact, I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on the way that we watch this being politically put to advantage or disadvantage. For some people, it is actually in their better interest if the U.S. goes into a recession, in their electoral interest. And we're watching the president try to pull levers like dipping more into our petroleum reserve, which I'm not sure what your view is on what that might actually do to the price of gas. But what are your concerns about the political energy that is being poured into all of this debate?
My advice to your viewers is, if you want honest economic discussion, the 2 weeks leading up to an election day are probably the worst possible moment to find it. And so I want to point out there are two truths. There's one important truth that Democrats will tell you a lot about, which is the economy has recovered from the pandemic. Life today is, by most economic measures, better than life was in 2019. Unemployment is at a 50-year low. We're creating new jobs all the time. That's true. That's a story that they really ought to and are trumpeting. There's another set of facts that Republicans are emphasizing. Prices are rising. They're rising at the highest rate in 40 years. People are worried. They feel powerless. Some of this may be due to government policy. Some of it may be due to the pandemic, and some of it is surely due to Putin. So some things are looking okay, some things not so much. On the question you asked, Evan, it's a really interesting one. When it comes to the polls, what matters? Is it the condition that your family's in, or the condition of the economy as a whole? Now, I teach in the economics department, and up the road we've got a political science department with a whole bunch of people who study this for a living. And I got to tell you, they're still not sure what the answer is. So maybe the midterms are going to be a good test of this.
Absolutely. I'm fascinated to watch how this plays out. But two other things that are at work here that I guess seem to spell a little bit on the gloom side. Number one, the stock market hit its high for the year back in January. It's down about 17% since then. The other thing, Justin, is we, of course, watched this big bubble develop in the housing market during COVID, which we all kind of understood how that worked, but it seems to be bursting at the moment. We're watching house prices coming down. These are two things that are being felt more immediately, right? And for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. So let me start with the stock market. It is disappointing. Many of us have seen our portfolios. They're worth less today than they were a year ago. There's another perspective on this. Again, go back to January of 2020. We were on the cusp of a pandemic, a global pandemic, a global recession of the likes we've never seen before. And it was unimaginable to me back then that 2.5 short years later, the stock market would in fact still be higher than it was on the eve of the pandemic. So buying stock and holding it through the worst negative shock in your lifetime still made you money. That's kind of extraordinary. Now, what's happened is it's not making you as much money as you were making a year ago. But so, you know, that's the stock market saying we're still optimistic about the state of the U.S. economy, even if we're not as crazy optimistic as we were a year ago.
Oh, interesting. Lastly, Justin, it seems to be a favorite economist parlor game right now to talk about the percentages, the likelihood that we tilt into a recession. Some are putting it at 50-50, others a little lower, a little higher. What's your gauge read right now?
Let me give your viewers two ways of thinking about this. One is the Wall Street Journal just did a survey in which economists there said the chance of a recession in 2023 is 63%, which is alarmingly high. Let me give you another answer, which is the economy's doing pretty well. In any given year, there's roughly a 1 in 7 chance that we'll fall into recession. That's because over the past 100 years, we've had 14 recessions. So I reckon the number's somewhere between 14% and 63%. The more pessimistic you are about the news you've been hearing, the more you're close to 63. And the more that you just think the economy's working out some post-pandemic kinks, then maybe you could afford to be a little more optimistic.
Interesting. And of course, we'll wait and see what happens with our pandemic issue and COVID as we move into the fall and the winter. Justin, you are so good at cutting a whale into bite-sized pieces. It's always good to turn to you for your thoughts. I appreciate the time.
It's a great pleasure. Thanks.
You bet. Back with more after a quick break. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
We're all born with the good in us. We're all in need of love. Dreams get tone, but we stand up, making a change that is calling us. What you gonna do? Raise our voices. Beautiful people, boys and girls, we're all made equal. So clap your hands, get up and dance. Beautiful world, with beautiful people.
There's a new player in town. Eagle Casino and Sports. The big time action, real money, mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet. Just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500 for the casino. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 for the sportsbook. Eagle Casino and Sports.
Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
It's the Black Friday mattress sale at Gardner White. Save up to an extra $700 off top name brand mattresses like Tempur-Pedic, Beautyrest Black, Serta Arctic, and Serta Eye Comfort. Plus, save with 0% financing up to 88 months at just $1 a day and free same-day delivery. Plus, get a Black Friday bonus on Serta Arctic and Eye Comfort. Extra 10% off, we pay your tax, free TV, and MasterCards. Get the lowest price at Detroit's #1 Black Friday mattress store, Gardner White.
There's a hidden hazard in your home, and a new poll shows that most parents don't even realize how dangerous it can be for their kids and even their friends. Monday morning, find out where it is, what parents are doing wrong, and how you can safely get it out of your house. Plus, who doesn't sample sweets from their kids' Halloween candy haul? But if you're trying to stick to a diet, there are some sweets that you'll really want to avoid. We're going to show you which candy is the best and worst for your health. That's on Monday morning on Local 4 News, and then streaming at 7 on Local 4 Plus.
And that's going to do it for us this morning, but I want to quickly point ahead to next week. We're going to talk more about this red mirage phenomenon, especially with so many absentee ballots coming in. It kind of has the tendency to create a funhouse mirror effect with the results as we watch them come in. We will talk about that when you join us next Sunday morning. Hope you have a great week. Meet the Press coming up next, and we'll see you next time for Flashpoint.